People, welcome back to this channel where we spread love and positive vibes. And I want to start by thanking our returning subscribers and our new subscribers. We value you, we appreciate you, and we thank you so much. We do not take you for granted because this far you have taken us, guys, and we really appreciate. Today I'm going to actually talk about one of the hottest topics about Jamaica. There are some things that we don't know, even the Jamaicans themselves don't know. But I want to say Jamaica is a unique country with unique things, with unique people. But there are some things that are so intriguing and they only make sense in Jamaica. And that is what we are going to look at today. Things that can only make sense to a Jamaican. To us outside, we might see them, but we may not understand them. But to the people of Yadi, to the people of Jamaica, it makes a lot of sense. So Wagwan, welcome to this video that is going to bring about things that are going to make you laugh, that are intriguing, that are inspiring, and some of them are scaring in some way. So that is what I want us to handle today. And I want us to look at things that only make sense to a Jamaican. And like I have said, there are so many unique things in Jamaica that I have handled in my video. But today, I'm going to handle very new things that can only be understood by the people of Jamaica. They happen there in Jamaica, and maybe most of the Jamaicans don't actually know that these things exist or they happen in their own country. Without further ado, let me jump to number one of most of the things that only make sense to a Jamaican. I will start with the kind of shoes the Jamaican wear. Jamaicans most of the times wear Crocs. And I'm sure the Jamaican in the house can associate, can relate with this. They wear Crocs 24/7 all the seasons of the year. I know the Jamaicans in the house can really relate with this. So guys, the wearing of Crocs in Jamaica did not start with the current generation of the people that are living in Jamaica. It started way back in their history. It is actually a history shoe. And it is said that by the 1960s, Crocs shoes were actually worn by Jamaicans when they were going to a night out in dance halls, and famous ska and reggae musicians rocked the streets wearing the Crocs shoes. So this is a shoe that was worn by the most prestigious and the most high-class people in Jamaica. The ska and the reggae musicians rocked the streets wearing these Crocs shoes, and they also wore desert boots everywhere, including the covers of their album. They could be seen wearing this type of shoe. So it is not just a shoe that has come to be worn by the current generation. It was worn back in 1960s. It's distinct, moccasin, construction, and comfortable crepe sole make it a famous or a favorite among the Jamaican people. So it is actually one of the favorite, not maybe. It is actually the favorite shoe worn by the Jamaican people. And it is not just worn by a nobody. It is worn by the high-class people in Jamaica and the common man in Jamaica. All over Jamaica, the Crocs shoes are worn by every person in Jamaica. And I'm sure the Jamaicans in the house can associate with the Crocs shoes, and they can tell us how these Crocs shoes are and whether it is true they are worn by everybody every day in every walk of life in Jamaica. The musicians, the reggae musicians, they are their everyday shoe. And even the common man, the Crocs shoe, it's their everyday shoe that they can wear going everywhere in whichever weather Jamaica is in. kindly hit that comment section and write for us whether you have the crack shoes and when you wear the crack shoes and what makes you love the crack shoe. It is said, guys, that even the most popular musicians in Jamaica, they have the crack shoes. The Vibes Cartel himself has sung a song about this kind of shoe, and the cover of the song has him holding his favorite crack wallaby shoe. I hope I'm pronouncing the wallaby shoe properly. So he's actually taken a photo holding his crack wallaby shoe. That is his favorite shoe. And he has also the desert shoes and the Boots desert track shoes that he has actually said he has several pairs of the different types of the crack shoe. So the crack shoe in Jamaica is only understood by the Jamaican people, and it is a shoe that is worn in every season, in every place, It is actually a classic shoe and very comfortable shoe that is worn by every Jamaican that actually live in Jamaica. So that is one of the wonders of Jamaica and one of the things that can only make sense to Jamaican people. The other thing that can only make sense to a Jamaican people is Jamaica is the home to the Maroons. Did you know that? The Maroon people were actually the slaves that were carried from West Africa to Jamaica so that they can work in sugar plantations and to do the work for the colonial masters. And these people, actually, when they arrived in Jamaica, there was this controversy or fight between the British colonial masters and the Spanish colonial masters, and they took advantage of the disagreement of these two masters and they ran away. They escaped from slavery and went to the thick, densely forested regions to hide there. And in these regions, they could actually camouflage with the branches of the tree, and the colonial masters could not find them. Nana, the Maroon, was one of the slaves that escaped their colonial masters, and they went to live in the forest, and they fought the colonial masters until they signed a treaty with the British people who actually took over from the Spanish colonial masters. So these people, they are actually a gem in Jamaica. They are actually very precious people because they mark the history of the Jamaican people. They practice what the former Maroons, the slaves, were practicing, and therefore they keep on reminding the people of Jamaica where they have come from, the culture of the Maroon people, how they fought the white colonial masters and they attained their independence. They have special clothes, guys. They don't just wear anything. They wear special clothes which are called pangy wear or pangy clothes, which are cotton fabric with multiple colored vertical and horizontal stripes similar to the West African Kenti clothes. And I am sort of imagining the stripes. I don't know what color the stripes are, but here in Kenya, we have the Masai people who wear those striped colors, striped in red, striped in yellow, striped in blue, and they have those specific colors, specific clothing that they tie. So I can actually relate to these people with the Masai people in Kenya. And therefore they wear those clothes that are actually have similarity to the West Africa Kenti cloth. Their traditions is borrowed from Akan tribe in West Africa. The traditions are the ambush dance. They practice these traditions wherever they live. And they are a lot in Jamaica. And we are going to tell us at the end of this session of the Maroon people where they actually live in Jamaica. So their traditions are the ambush dance, the muyarism, and the Fakan-based pidgin language. These are special people in Jamaica, and they have actually deserted themselves separated themselves from the common man, and they live in Akapong town. We talked about Akapong town, which is actually a name in West Africa, and they also live in Mole town, and they also live in Charlestown and Scots Hall. These are great people that have actually kept the culture of the Maroon people so that the people of Jamaica can actually remember where they came from and how they liberated themselves from the hands of the oppressors, the hands of the slave masters, and they set themselves free. So these are people to actually icon with. And there are special things that happen to the Jamaican people. By the way, guys, here in Kenya, in the Kikuyu community, we have the Mau Mau. The Mau Mau people are actually the people that fought for freedom in Kenya. But we no longer have them. But you see, Jamaicans have kept their history, have kept their tradition, have these people separated and have sustained the culture of the Maroon people. There are no people here in Kenya that practice the culture of the Mau Mau. They are long forgotten after the fight for freedom, and after we gained freedom, we actually borrowed most of the things that we do from the West. So it is very, very important to keep culture, to remember these people that sacrificed, that actually walijitoa muhanga, like we say in Kiswahili. They sacrificed their own body that we can be liberated. Great people there to remember. And they are actually remembered in Jamaica, and they are set aside, and they have their own community, they have their own government, they run their own institutions, and they are recognized by the government. What a great thing to do for these people that fought for freedom. The other thing that can only be or rather make sense in Jamaica is the Gaja tourism. Gaja is the growing of marijuana in Jamaica, and I can tell you that it has gone to an extent of being a medical solution in Jamaica. But initially, Gaja was illegal in Jamaica, and one could actually face a jail term if you are caught with Gaja or if you are seen growing Gaja. But in 2015, Jamaican government offered a license to the growing of Gaja and selling it because they realized that Gaja can actually be medicinal. It can solve some of the medical cases that people have. The Jamaican government has actually decriminalized Gaja. In other words, they have not allowed Gaja fully. It's not legalized fully, but they have decriminalized. They have set free some growing of Gaja and some selling of Gaja to some extent. It's not completely legal, but it is legal to some extent. This means possessing up to 57 grams of Gaja is no longer a criminal offense in Jamaica. You can actually possess 57 grams of Gaja in Jamaica, but you cannot walk with it in public. Maybe the 57 grams is allowed that you can actually go to the allowed sites and smoke that, but you are not allowed to walk with it or rather carry it in public. Carrying it in public can attract a fine of 500 Jamaican dollars if you are caught with it. And 18 are not allowed to actually handle Gaja in Jamaica. And this is very, very important because these are still children who cannot make a decision between the medical Gaja and the Gaja drug. There is, however, what is called medical marijuana, which I had mentioned, which is allowed. There are medical marijuana dispensaries in Jamaica. Here in Kenya, Gaja is illegal, marijuana is illegal, though it is taken by people, it is completely illegal. And I remember during the campaign of the current regime, there is this guy called Wajakwaya who actually lived in Jamaica, and he was trying to campaign the legalization of ganja, and the church was very, very much against it. But I can see in Jamaica, it is actually used as a medicine to cure some diseases. To buy this medicine of Gaja, there are some cautions that have been put by the government of Jamaica. You have to have actually an ID to actually show that you are above 18, and you have to have a proof of the disease you are suffering from, or the problem that you want to cure, and this can be actually proved using a subscription or prescription from a doctor or from a medical personnel. So you cannot just enter a marijuana dispensary and purchase marijuana without a prescription from the doctor or a medical personnel. So though marijuana is allowed in Jamaica, it has some restrictions and it has some things that are put in place so that it is not misused. The tourists that come to Jamaica, most of them can come and purchase marijuana as a medicine to cure some of the things they may be suffering from. I do not know whether the tourists are allowed to visit marijuana plantations, because there are many in Jamaica, or not. So the Jamaicans in the house can tell us, are you allowed to go and see the marijuana plantations in Jamaica and actually relate to the people that are growing this crop? So that one I'm not sure, but the Jamaicans in the house can tell us. So ganja tourism is actually something that can only make sense in Jamaica, because in other areas it is actually illegal to grow marijuana. I remember here in Kenya, if you are caught growing it, you are going to be imprisoned, and it is going to be actually uprooted and burned. I remember there is a time the police caught a very big plantation growing marijuana in some forested area, and it was uprooted and burnt. So it is that serious in Kenya, and this can only make sense in Jamaica, where we have Gaja plantations. The next wonder of Jamaica, I think we are going to call them the wonders of Jamaica. I'm suffering from a cold, so guys, bear with me. So the next wonder of Jamaica is the Ruminasragon. I think I had talked about the Ruminasragon in one of my videos, and this is actually another wonder of Jamaica. This is a must-visit place in Jamaica, and I cannot wait to reach to Jamaica and go to the Ruminasragon. The experience is extraordinary. The grow of the lagoon. And it is said that this lagoon grows with its beautiful blue waters because of the presence of microorganisms called the dinoflagellates. The dinoflagellates. I hope I'm pronouncing it properly. These microorganisms, once they are disturbed, they start growing, and it is said they grow even on the skin of human beings, and they are medicinal. So this is one of the tourism attraction sites in Jamaica, and it is one of the wonders of Jamaica that can only make sense to the Jamaican people. Can you imagine entering a lagoon and your skin starts to grow, and you start to grow, and it is said that this microorganism growing is actually medicinal when you enter the Ruminasragon. So this Ruminasragon is also said that you can only go there at night. By the way, guys, the Jamaicans in the house, can you tell us why these microorganisms are only active at night, and that is the time the lagoon grows, and that is the time if you actually enter the lagoon, your skin will grow? Why at night? The Jamaicans in the house can actually explain to us about this mystery in Jamaica. Great mysteries that happen to Jamaica, and we all appreciate the great wonders of Jamaica. The next great wonder of Jamaica is, these guys will amuse you, entertain you, and sometimes scare you. It is the Redhead of Ann Palmer. Jamaica is in the house. Have you heard about this already? I was reading her history. It is epic. It is entertaining. It's capturing. But on the other hand, it is scary and sad at the same time. And the Redhead of Anne Palmer. I'll start by telling you the story of this woman, where she came from, her parents, her life, her experience, and why she became the way she was, and what she was doing to the Jamaican slaves. Sit down and actually hear the story, the intriguing story of Anne Palmer. It is actually a story that is told by the Jamaican people to their children and their children's children. It's a story that is passed from one generation to the other. And people have come to actually hear the story of Anne Palmer and experience actually some of her fairy tales that I don't know whether they are true, but the Jamaicans are going to tell us whether they are true or not. The story is intriguing, actually captures murder, romance, and even betrayal. Anne was the owner of Rose Hall Estate. And during this story, we are going to find out how did she become the owner of Rose Hall Estate. Anne Palmer was the daughter to an English mother and an Irish father who moved to Haiti. And Haiti was then called Saint Domingue. Saint Domingue, I think that is the right pronunciation. And Haiti, by the time the parents of Anne moved to Haiti, Haiti was very, very rich. Guys, I didn't know this. Haiti was very stable. It was actually one of the biggest export of sugar and other agricultural produce. It was actually ahead of Jamaica. It is said that Jamaica was actually second from Haiti. It was very, very stable economically. And Anne's parents came here because Haiti was stable economically, while their country in Europe, it was faced with evil political wars, and therefore they could not live there. So they moved to Haiti during the peak of its economic prosperity. The Pattersons, that is the parents to Anne, were seeking for economic gain, and they actually freed from Europe due to political upheaval. Just like I have told you, it was not stable in Europe, and these parents moved to Haiti, which was very, very prosperous at the time. What happened to our Haitian brothers and sisters? We can see Haiti has the strength to wake up again. Because if it was this prosperous during the moving in of Anne's parents, it looks like Haiti can be a great country, a prosperous country, a very, very grown country in terms of the economy. So that set aside, I was so amused by the story of Haiti that it was so prosperous during these times, and yet now we are seeing a Haiti that has gone really down in terms of economic growth. But it is going to grow, it is going to wake up again. So Anne and her parents moved to Haiti, and she had a nanny who was a Haitian. Her nanny was a Haitian, and she taught her the art of voodoo. And by the way, Anne moved to Haiti with her parents when she was barely 10 years old. She was a young girl. And therefore, this nanny taught her the art of voodoo when she was actually very, very young. After that, her parents passed away when she was still a young girl. And I think this lady who was the nanny is the one who brought her as the surrogate mother, and she taught her how to use her beauty, how to use voodoo to gain what she actually desired to gain. So she grew up being taught the art of voodoo and how to use voodoo and her beauty to actually gain ground. Unfortunately, the surrogate mother also passed on, and Anne was faced with a lot of ups and downs at a very, very young age. So she actually was faced with hatred between slaves and their colonial masters. She was taught the art of survival by magic by her nanny, and when her nanny passed on, I hope the nanny was also the surrogate mother, she moved to Jamaica. So after the surrogate mother passed on, Anne decided to move to Jamaica. Remember that she's still a youth when she was moving to Jamaica. And on moving to Jamaica, she met a young man by the name John Palmer. John Palmer was the owner of the Rose Hall Estate. Remember that later, Anne became the owner of the Rose Hall Estate. How did this happen? This is the story, guys. Sit there and hit that like button to continue this story for you, which is actually intriguing and at the same time scaring and at the same time sad. So Anne met John Palmer, and actually John Palmer saw a young, beautiful woman and a very intriguing woman and very charming, and she proposed to her. And Anne, being desperate and a go-getter, she immediately agreed to the marriage to this young man who owned the Rose Hall Estate. And therefore, they got married and started living as a husband and wife. And life was good. Anne started driving around the estate, controlling the plantations, and actually, they were actually rich. Her and the husband started managing the estate with over 2,000 slaves. This is how rich John Palmer was. They had 2,000 slaves, a big house worth a lot of dollars, and a very large sugar plantation. So they used to manage the plantation together with the husband, and they could manage the slaves together with the husband. But I tell you, Satan is actually after people. So Anne lived with the husband and they looked a great couple. But Anne started getting bored with this young man, with John Palmer, and she started moving out with the slaves, the male slaves that they had hired. She is said to she could actually take these male slaves to their bedroom. And it was so bad because her lust for the slaves grew day by day. What a tragedy. After meeting a young, handsome, rich man, Anne could not get satisfied. So she started going for the male slaves they had hired. And her lust for these male slaves grew day by day until she was caught by the husband, red-handed. In other words, we say here in Kenya, red-handed. She was caught in bed with one of the male slaves by the husband. And the husband could not take it. Just like any man cannot take it to see her wife or his wife cheating in broad daylight. And therefore the husband took a riding crop and really whipped Anne very badly. And Anne was very, very bitter, and she swore to revenge. She was embarrassed in front of the slaves that they had hired, and therefore she vowed that she's going to take revenge. And I think the husband did not take it seriously because he would have taken precautions. But he never took precautions, and it is said that one day Anne actually poisoned the John Palmer's coffee and he died. He died out of drinking the poisoned coffee. After this, of course, Anne became liberated, free to do all what she wanted to do, and she started actually doing everything she had desired to do, and she swore not to be controlled by men. And therefore she could actually bring from one slave to the other every day in her house. She later married another man. It is said actually she married twice, and every time she married, she could not get satisfied with the husband she has married, and she could continue moving out with the slaves. And these husbands, after realizing they could either be killed, actually she killed the two husbands and buried them in the estate. So far, remember, she had the first husband, who was John Palmer, and now she has married other two husbands, and she could kill them and take their wealth. And therefore, she became very, very wealthy and very, very controlling. She continued using the male slaves, and if a young woman could be interested in the man she's actually moving with, or the man she was moving with, she could actually punish the female slaves very severely to an extent of killing them. This is how jealousy Anne was when it came to her partners. She could actually kill and punish anyone who dared to move with a male she was interested with. And it happened that one day she took this too far. And there is this man who was a bookkeeper, and he was an Englishman. And this man was interested in a woman who was called Millicent, and this Millicent was the daughter to a witch doctor. They are called a bear in Jamaica. And she was the daughter of an Abia man. And when Anne got interested in this English bookkeeper, and the English bookkeeper was actually dating Millicent, Anne saw Millicent as a competitor in her interest of this young man, and therefore decided to curse Millicent, and Millicent got sick in a very, very mysterious way. And this is the disease Millicent was suffering from. So Millicent was actually the granddaughter of Taku, the local Obia man. And when Anne saw that this English boy, bookkeeper, could not agree to be in love with her because of this girl called Millicent, she cursed her. And like I had said, Millicent developed a very mysterious disease. She made her to painfully wither and die. The father sought to revenge on behalf of her daughter, and they combined effort with some slaves and stormed in Anne's house, and it is said they strangled her to death. But before then, because of the bad things she used to do, it is said that Anne could kill anybody who could actually come her way. She even murdered some children, and she was actually practicing some ritual with the bones of those children. And therefore people used to call her the White Witch of Rose Hall. No one used to actually dare cross the lines of Anne because you could be killed. And that is how people used to fear her. So Millicent made her to face her death because of the jealousy between Millicent and the bookkeeper. And it is said that she was strangled to death by Millicent's father and some slaves. But it is also said that Anne could actually turn herself into a cat. I don't know how true this is. And in one of those occasions, when she could change herself into a cat, the Millicent father, Taku, and the slaves actually took advantage of the time she had actually changed herself to a cat, and by the time she could change herself to a human being, they had killed her. That is another story that I saw somewhere. I don't know whether it is true. So she died like that, and her story is even told up to today. The people tried to bury her and to do all the rituals so that her spirits do not come back. But it is said they never followed the right procedure, and her spirits kept on appearing to the slaves that were working in the estate. And even up to today, people who work there after the house had been renovated and that is actually being used even up to today, people still say that they experience the spirits of Anne, and they sometimes see her riding her black horse. I don't know whether this is true. The Jamaicans in the house can tell us, do the spirits of Anne still haunt people in the White Hall, the White Rose Hall? Is it called the Rose Hall? Do they exist, those spirits, according to what people say? And it is said that the people who have actually tried to buy the estate actually die mysteriously. I don't know whether this is true or not. The Jamaicans in the house are going to tell us. At her ghost haunt people, her ghosts still are seen in the estate and the properties, around the properties. Tell us whether this is true or not. So that is the fairy tale of Anne Palmer. The Jamaicans in the house can tell us whether they know about the story of Anne Palmer and how much you know about this story, and whether the ghost of Anne Palmer still haunt people in this estate. The other thing that makes sense, Andre, in Jamaica is the Dan River Falls. The Dan River Falls. These are falls that we have seen before when Sean Arwa visited Jamaica in Ochorio, and she went to visit the Dan Falls. There are some boxes where you go and keep your property as you go down the Dan Falls. The Dan Falls are actually in steps, and we saw that you can actually script your name on the stones that are in the falls, and they are very, very beautiful falls. They are very, very captivating falls, and we have seen them in the videos. Very, very beautiful sights. This is actually another wonder of Jamaica. The other thing that I learned about Jamaican people is that you are not supposed to wear camouflage clothing in Jamaica. They are set aside for the army, and if you are seen with them, it is actually a jail sentence if you are seen wearing those camouflage clothing. Here in Kenya, the army also wear the camouflage clothing, and the civilians also act using those clothing. But in Jamaica, this is prohibited, and if you are visiting Jamaica, you cannot wear camouflage clothing in Jamaica. This is something I found very, very peculiar and very, very unique to Jamaican people. It's actually a wonder in Jamaica, because though the army wear those clothes here in Kenya, they are worn by civilians. The next wonder of Jamaica are the crocodile population in the Black River. These crocodiles are actually habited in the Black River, and they are actually called the American crocodiles. There are very, very many in the Black River. It is said that they are shy and they avoid human contact, though you cannot actually dare crocodiles because they are dangerous. This is actually another wonder of the Jamaican people. The other one is the Port Royal history, the weekend city. The weekend city where the pirates could do their trade coming from all over the European countries. They could actually arrive here and do their trade, and there was a lot of business being done in Port Royal town, and it became the weekend city because of a lot of practices that were done by these people after they gained a lot of money because of business. Where there is money, evil is bound to be. And there was a lot of prostitution that were being done in this city, and it is said it was called the weekend city because of these prostitution things that used to happen in this Port Royal city. And it is said there was an earthquake and a hurricane that struck the city and completely ruined it. I don't know whether God was annoyed because of what was happening in Port Royal. The Jamaicans in the house can tell us what is the story behind the destruction of the Port Royal. And there was actually a church, a big church. Jamaicans in the house can tell us what happened to Port Royal and what destroyed the Port Royal and everything that was happening there, the trade, the businesses that were taking place there, do they, or rather does business still take place in the Port Royal? The Jamaicans in the house can tell us. And these are the wonders of Jamaica, and they are very, very intriguing, and they are very, very, very captivating. Some of them are very great. We have become inspired as I was going through these wonders of Jamaica. I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you have, like the video and subscribe to this channel and continue to watch us. We appreciate. Thank you so much. See you during the next video. Bye bye and God bless.